Godzilla. Regardless of your thoughts and opinions on this event, you can't deny this was near peak Brawl Stars in terms of popularity. I mean, everyone was playing the game around this time. But in this video, we'll dig a little deeper into this event and talk about the actual stats of the event and analyze how good this event actually was, especially for free-to-play players. We'll then finish up with some of the major consequences that the Godzilla event caused, and how the event has led us to the current landscape that we are in right now. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to keep up with my videos. Second, join our Discord server. We have some fun stuff to do there, like our very own 1v1 rank called Gauntlet, where you can win Eldritch Barley, and more Brawl Talk skins in the future, or simply just have fun. Finally, consider becoming a channel member if you're interested in supporting out the channel, and have ample disposable income for some cool perks, like watching videos early or getting to decide on future video ideas. First, the basics. The Godzilla event was obviously a collaboration, but it was the most ambitious collaboration yet. The event ran from April 29, 2024 to May 20th, with the entire game being based around Godzilla. To start out, let's talk about the monster eggs. These guys were interesting to say the least. They had rare, super rare, epic, mythic, and legendary rarities. And here are the chances for the eggs. So, how does one obtain eggs? Well, in multiple ways. Like star drops, you could get them in the daily wins, on your first and sixth win. There was also egg cartons with 6 spots, and if you played the Godzilla City Smash game mode and won, you would get an egg. But if you lost, you would get a rare star drop. After 4 days, you would be able to open your wonderful rewards. And you could also go the old-fashioned route and just straight up buy them in the shop for gems or money. There was also the Club Mega Egg event. Your club would go through certain milestones of eggs opened to receive increasingly better gem counts. And finally, at 1250 eggs open, you could get the hypercharged skin, Godzilla Buzz. Next, the new game mode, City Smash. It was basically a competition to destroy as much of your opponent's city as you could, with one player being able to transform into Godzilla or Mechagodzilla. And of course, as I said before, the whole egg garden thing and the egg for winning and the rare star drop for losing was enabled in this game. Last but definitely least, mutations. Mutations dropped for 40 brawlers and were exclusive to monster eggs. Mutations were available only in City Smash and random trophy modes every day. As for mutations themselves, they gave brawlers totally not broken power-ups that were completely fair and didn't make me want to quit the game. Yes, completely fair and balanced. And with that, all the basics of the event are out of the way. Now, I'll give my actual thoughts on the event. First off, the collab itself. I mean, this was really big at the time. I mean, Brawl Stars had done big collabs before, like with PSG, but nothing to this scale, with a huge in-game event based around this collaboration. And this reflected in the play rates, with many people coming to the game to play this new huge collaboration, because of a few reasons. First, Godzilla was obviously a huge IP, which a lot of people knew. Second, the event was temporary, so there was a bit of FOMO. And of course, third, the fact that something like this has never happened before in Brawl Stars. So, overall, this was a prosperous time for Brawl Stars, with a lot of money and players coming into the game. But how good was the event itself? Well, let's start talking about the monsters that were the monster eggs. Future would be proud. Well, monster eggs weren't really that special. The first and biggest problem was, of course, the huge chances to get mutations. Let's take rare and super rare monster eggs for example. There was an insane 50% chance to get a mutation, and we'll take a look at mutations later, but for now, I think we can all agree that's either way too high, or it should just be treated like the Angels vs Demons event, and the power-ups should be given as an addition to the regular rewards. As for the other rewards, they were nothing too special either. Rare eggs were equal to super rare star drops, and super rare eggs were equal to epics, which was nice. Unfortunately, epic eggs were not equal to mythic star drops. In fact, they were so bad, you would honestly rather get a rare egg than get an epic egg. The only thing you could get from epic eggs were mutations, sprays, profile icons, and pins. If that isn't the drop of doom, I don't know what is. Mythic eggs were okay and gave rare to super rare skins, which isn't anything special or good, considering that it's a mythic egg. Finally, legendary eggs. They were pretty good. The worst thing you could get was an epic skin, which tells you a lot about these eggs. The best part was that they had chances to give hypercharged skins or legendary skins, which was unprecedented at the time, as Supercell rarely gave legendary skins away for free, so this was seen as very generous, which it 100% was. However, looking at all of this, one thing becomes abundantly clear. These eggs were more based around cosmetics and not actual progression. I mean, the 3 highest rarities for the eggs, you couldn't even get a single bit of actual progression. Like, come on, who would rather get a spray than actual coins? As if things couldn't get any worse, the whole cardin system existed. If you lost, you would literally get a rare star drop. And to make matters even worse somehow, it would literally take up a valuable spot on the cardin, which, to remind you, only refreshed every 4 days. Imagine losing 6 games in a row, and then having to wait 4 days to get the wonderful privilege of opening 6 rare star drops. Truly scintillating stuff. With all of this in mind, it was clear that Brawl Stars wanted you to get eggs in a different way. And that way was in the shop for gems or real money, of course. And this made things very bad when it came to mutations, which segues nicely into our next topic, mutations and City Smash. City Smash by itself wasn't anything too bad, but in combination with the godless creation that was mutations, it was quite bad. Now we get to the main topic, mutations. I wish for whoever created mutations to have both sides of their pillow be warm. These guys genuinely made me want to quit the game. But keeping bias aside, they were not fun to play, and the whole system around them was very free-to-play unfriendly. As I said earlier, to get a lot of eggs to get mutations, you needed to win a lot of games. But how did you win games? Oh, well, by using broken mutations. And how did you get broken mutations? By winning a lot of games. It's a catch-22 that a lot of people, including myself, struggled with. But people could escape this if they just forked over some gems to buy the eggs in the shop. Of course, leaving the poorer players behind to rot. And don't get me started on mutations themselves. First of all, the fact only 40 brawlers got it was incredibly unfair, though it could be justified by saying that making mutations for all of the brawlers in the game would just be too much work for a temporary event. However, the mutations themselves were just terribly broken. Specific brawlers like Rico, Ruffs, Tick, Max, Hank, and much more that I'm missing were just unstoppable compared to other brawlers that had mediocre mutations or brawlers that didn't have any mutation at all. At the end of the day, it was just fully RNG as to whether you got good mutations or bad ones, which is just not my cup of tea. Of course, this is obviously an incredibly biased perspective on mutations, so if you have a different opinion yourself, feel free to leave it in the comments and try not to go off the rails like I did. But with the event out of the way, let's talk about the consequences that this event had. As I mentioned earlier, this was the first ever big temporary event, collab or not. And of course, at the beginning, this was incredible for the game. People were extremely hyped for these limited time events, and the player base increased exponentially, with the Godzilla event of course being one of the biggest factors of this. However, there was one big problem, and it came from the temporary part in the temporary live event. See, with the success of the Godzilla event, Supercell decided, why not make every update a big event? Well, that made sense back then. I mean, they were doing extremely well because of their recent events, so why not continue? But this isn't a history of Brawl's downfall. I have another 38-minute video on that, so let me move on. The success of Godzilla led to Brawl Stars sort of focusing purely on short-term gain, with big events every single update, which in the long run isn't enough to keep the game alive, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. And it's not like big events are bad though. I mean, the game was at its peak at some of its biggest events like SpongeBob, Angels vs Demons, and of course, Godzilla. The real problem came with how often these events were. If you give a big event every season, then having another big event the next season isn't that big of a deal. However, if you have a big event every other season, then suddenly there's a lot more hype since there's more scarcity of these events. Overall, Godzilla has a pretty complicated legacy. It started off looking great, with Brawl Stars hitting new peaks in popularity and revenue, but there was a lot of cracks behind the surface. The whole event itself was based on a lot of mediocre RNG and pay-to-win elements, and could have been handled much better. And of course, Supercell, after seeing the success that this event brought to the game, got a little too greedy, and we're at the spot we're in right now, indirectly or directly, because of the Godzilla event. But anyway, thanks for watching. Watch this video, or this playlist, or join the Discord server.